not interested.
Our friends over at SPECULATIVEFaith.com are lending us another article. This time I went back into the archives over at SPECULATIVEFaith.com, and I dug up the article, The Christian Problem with Magic, Part 2. And of course I recommend checking out Part 1, but Part 2 is really relevant to what I wanted to address this month. I wanted to lean on our friends over at SPECULATIVEFaith.com on this one because I knew that they'd addressed it a number of times. They have a number of great articles. If you just go to SPECULATIVEFaith.com and use their search field and put in magic, you'll find a lot of really interesting, thought-provoking material. But the article that I wanted to use this time was, again, called The Christian Problem with Magic, Part 2, written by Shannon McDermott, published originally December 10th, 2014. She writes, "In the first part of this series, I referenced Deuteronomy 18, 9 through 12. And who doesn't when writing about magic and Christianity? But continuing down the passage, context is king. Verses 14 and 15 are just as illuminating to the question. The nations you will dispossess listen to those who practice sorcery or divination. But as for you, the Lord your God has not permitted you to do so. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your own brothers. You must listen to him." The prophet, like Moses, as the Apostle Peter would declare many centuries later, is Jesus Christ. So what these verses boil down to is, don't listen to diviners or sorcerers, listen to Jesus. In our consideration of Christianity and magic, we need to understand the relentlessly spiritual nature of the magic arts God so strongly condemns. The magic arts can be broadly divided into two categories, divination and sorcery. Divination seeks after knowledge, and sorcery after power. In Isaiah, the prophet asks, "When men tell you to consult mediums and spiritists who whisper and mutter, should not a people inquire of their God?" That is the sin of divination, to turn away from God's revelation and seek revelation from other spiritual sources, whether by directly consulting spirits or gods or by reading supernatural omens and signs. Examples of divination in the Bible include the witch at Endor, the fortune teller who was possessed by a demon, and Nebuchadnezzar's search for an omen, Ezekiel 21. If the primary end of divination is to know things, the primary purpose of sorcery or magic is to do things. Instances of this, too, can be found in the Bible. The Egyptian magicians replicated the plagues of blood and frogs and turned their staffs into snakes. Simon the sorcerer amazed the people of Samaria with his magic. In Ezekiel 13:20, God declared to certain false prophets, "I am against your magic charms with which you ensnare people like birds, and I will tear them from your arms. I will set free the people that you ensnare like birds." Most impressive of the biblical magicians is Balaam. It was said that those he blessed were blessed, and those he cursed were cursed. And it must have been true because God told Israel that he had delivered them by not letting Balaam put a curse on them. As with divination, the core of sorcery is engaging the spiritual world, excluding, of course, God, and so leaving only the devil and his. That is why even ineffectual sorcery and divination are dangerous, and why they are so wicked. We must be careful not to have a superficial understanding of what the Bible means by magic. It is not that God hates to see people doing things beyond natural human abilities. Didn't he, after all, enable his prophets and apostles to perform wonders and signs that had all the magicians and sorcerers beat? But magic in the Bible is an attempt to gain illicit power by forbidden spiritual means. It courts spiritual powers other than God. It is done not only in defiance, but also rejection of God, and is quite literally anathema, eternally condemned. But magic, in our culture, is an entirely different animal. People don't mean by it what the Bible does. Very often, magic, in popular usage, is anything wonderful or extraordinary. Hence, you will read cheerful news reports about a politician or movie star or athlete doing his magic. Our society has even given the name magic to sleight of hand tricks. In our culture at large, the word magic has become divorced from any supernatural meaning. When it comes to magic in fiction, there is no single, all-encompassing definition. Different things are called magic even within the same work. Magic in the biblical sense can and does appear in fantasy, though this is not inherently bad. What is inherently bad is presenting biblical magic as positive or even neutral, and I would contend including real-life occultic practices in such detail as to be Occult 101. But I think that most mainstream fantasy uses magic in the Disney sense. Remember what they said about Elsa's powers in Frozen, that she was born with them? That is what magic usually is. And it pinpoints the crucial difference between Disney magic and Bible magic. In the Bible, no one is born with magic because the origin of such powers is always spiritual, never natural. In Disney and many other works, magic is not spiritual, it is an inborn ability, a natural ability. And any natural ability is a God-given ability. Such fantasy does not imagine a world where it is all right for humans or anyone else to engage spirits and manipulate their power. It imagines a world where humans or whole other races, called variously fairies, elves, wizards, etc., are born with abilities that would appear in our world supernatural, but which they came by naturally, and so honestly. This is not the magic the Bible condemns. It's a different thing under the same name. So when you're dealing with the Christian problem with magic, the solution is to truly understand magic in the biblical sense and magic in the fantasy sense. Don't lecture concerned Christians about imagination and culture and art. That's like telling someone worried about the chimney catching fire that the fireplace is really a wonderful addition to the room. Some Christians believe, from warnings and stories in the Bible, that the presentation of magic in fantasy is wrong. Starting with the Bible, prove otherwise. Yeah, I think this is a great article by Shannon McDermott. Again, you can find it at speculativefaith.com. It's titled The Christian Problem with Magic, Part 2. And yeah, there's so many different places that we can go with this discussion. This is just one facet of it, and I think it's handled really well. Another facet is, what do we do with magic as presented in fiction that is more akin to biblical magic? And, is it okay and safe for us to interface with that in a fictional or entertainment context? And what kinds of things should we be cautioning ourselves against and thinking about as we engage in that? I put a video up a while back called "Can Christians Be Evil in Games?" that I think addresses that side, that kind of sphere of the issue. But I think this is a wonderful article. Shannon McDermott, thank you so much for your thoughts on this, and thank you speculativefaith.com for allowing me to share it here. Again, guys, tons of great content just like this article over at speculativefaith.com. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. We've got a ton going on here at Spirit Blade Productions and Christian Geek Central, including our in-depth Bible study for geeks, movie, game, and other entertainment reviews or commentary, live streams, Christian geek news, original audio dramas, and tons more. And on top of all that, you can become a Spirit Blade insider with an influential voice and get access to exclusive content and rewards. It's your involvement as a patron that will keep all of this going and growing, so I want to thank you for your consideration in that. For more information, please check out our Patreon page through the link below at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Thanks for listening.